All right, guys, we are on to map number 2. I'm using a couple different colors. I'm a color person and I like to make sure that I understand what I'm looking at. So I have a blue highlighter that I'm going to use first, and I'm going to highlight my rivers. Right now I'm not worried about naming them, but I will eventually, because names are just as important. And then I am going to do a little bit of highlighting inside the bodies of water so that I can tell the difference. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's a big one here, 3, and then at the very top of your map, you've got a small one. All right, I know that's not pretty, and I'm not looking for pretty. I'm just kind of looking so that it's all there. Now I'm going to put my highlighter away, and we're going to name these big bodies of waters. I'm going to start with the most important big body of water for us, and that's going to be the Mediterranean. I'm going to abbreviate and just call it the Med Sea. Now, most of our units are going to be focused around this big body of water, so we need to make sure that we know it. Oh, I missed a body of water in the bottom corner. So we need this one right here. All right, so I've got the big Mediterranean. At the very, very top, I've got the Black Sea, because the sand itself is black. So I'm going to label that. Can you guys see that? All right, there we go. Now, if I keep moving right or east, this is called the Caspian Sea. And then in the bottom right corner, we've got the Persian Gulf. And then in the bottom left corner, this is the Red Sea. And this one has a pretty cool meaning behind it, if you like gore and such. All right, so those are our big bodies of water. And now we need to label our rivers. So I'm hoping this one next to the Red Sea, you know, this is the Nile River. And this river is important. You can't see that, hold on. This one's important because of the civilization that's surrounded by it. And it's also important because it flows the opposite direction from the rest of the rivers. It goes from south to north. That's super important when they were creating their civilization. All right, and now we have 2 other rivers, and we've got the Euphrates River, and we have the Tigris River. All right, and in this area we have 5 different civilizations that we're going to start with. I'm going to use the color purple to represent these. Go ahead. The first one we have along the Nile River, and it's going to be all over here on both sides of the river. And I'm going to use the color brown to write it in, but it's the purple that I'm looking at. We have the civilization of Egypt. Now, Egypt is pretty important because it's going to come up with some of the biggest advancements that we're going to see, the calendar, irrigation systems, and things like that. If we move northeast, we have 2 civilizations that we need to look at. Keep your hands out. One is here along the Mediterranean, and the other one is right here. Now, they're 2 separate civilizations, but they do communicate with each other. The one to the north are the Phoenicians. And for us, they're important because of how they trade and how they create a writing system. To their south, we have the Hebrews. The Hebrews are going to have multiple different names, and they are a religion, but they're also a civilization during this time period. So that's 3. We have 2 more that we've got a label on here. The first one is going to be in this area, and the southern portion of the Tigris and Euphrates, closer to the Persian Gulf. And these people are called the Sumerians. So we're going to call Sumer. And then in the north, which are going to be up here, we're going to have the Babylonians. So it's called Babylon, or sometimes you can call it Babylon. Now, the Babylonians and the Sumerians are going to have lots of different fights going on during this time period. And the reason that they're fighting is for a specific city. And I'm going to grab a different color. Jacob, don't touch. I'm going to grab an orange for this one. So the city that they're fighting over is at the closest meeting between the Tigris and the Euphrates. It's right here. And this city is called Ur. Now, that's a weird name. It's called Ur. It's U-R. It's Ur in Sumer. Now, the Babylonians and the Sumerians are going to fight over this area, and they are going to do that for a very long time. Eventually, the Sumerians are going to lose the city of Ur to the Babylonians, and the Babylonians are going to rename that city. They're going to call it Babylon. For right now, I think that's all we're going to go over, but we will come back to this map and many different maps coming up.